So we want to make sure that we have that strategy. Okay? I really believe in the 12 commandments of control, so let me walk through them pretty fast with you. Number one is the environment. Your environment in terms of the seminar, and I know Bill has talked about this, is pretty important to give an influence of what the group is like. But it just doesn't happen with respect to how the room is set up and those kinds of things. It happens how you treat people and how you greet them and how you move them. Your sales team, your coordinators, your staff should be on the same wavelength as you with respect to that. And in fact, there are a couple of different elements that we want to make sure we include as part of it. We want to make sure we build rapport pretty quickly. We want to set up the environment in the workshop so there are rewards and there's almost punishments. Does that make sense to you? Okay, one of the greatest challenges is when you're doing a group of 100 or 200 or things like that, can you have negative people in that group? What do you think? And if those people, if you don't kind of control them, can they influence the whole group? Can they influence the hallways? Can they influence them in whatever? So you've got to kind of set the stage a little bit about what's acceptable behavior and what's unacceptable behavior. Okay? So you need to control that. When you greet and meet people at the beginning, quite often with our instructors or our coordinators, we'll say, okay, you want to go directly up to the front. We tell them where to go because we want to direct them from the beginning, not later on. So if people go to start to sit at the back, we don't allow that happen. Quite often you'll see those last 3 or 4 tables duct taped off. You got to go up to the front. That's where you want to be. So you want to control the audience from the get-go with different kinds of strategies. You want to intercept some of the conversations in the hallway. You'll find after I do my session, the first 2 hours or so, I actually go stand in the hallway and see who's talking to who. Right? Are there influences in an audience?
Yes.
Interesting thing about that is an influencer usually has 3 or 4 people listening to them in a hallway. So if you go out there and look, do you know who the influencer is in that audience? Can I talk directly to that person? Yes, I can. Right? So we want to start to figure out who they are, what they're about, and start to influence that way. So we need to control the environment. So that's the first piece. What's acceptable, what's not, what's rewards, and what's punishment. Now, how do you do that? Well, a good piece for me is quite often what I say is, there's 2 pieces to what I do in terms of workshops. First of all, I'm a teacher. And as a teacher, I'm going to give you great strategies, great techniques to get you onto the path to success. But I'm also a coach. And let me ask you this question. Is a coach always nice to their players? No, they're not. Why would a coach not be nice to their players? Because they see more in the player than the player sees in themselves, don't they? And quite often, does a player need a little kick? Yeah, they do. So is it okay for me, as a coach, when I see you wandering off the path, on the wrong path, for me to gently and nudge you back? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, is it okay as me, a coach, if I see somebody who's like a red light thinker, to kind of deal with that individual?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Sure.
How many people here, for the benefit of us, so that we can get to that M2 status, so we can be that multimillionaire, for me to kind of put people back on the path, how many people would allow me to do that as a coach? Let's just see a show of hands. What am I getting here? Agreement frame, right? To allow them to do what? To be firm. So, by the way, when I do this, does that also tell me who the red apple is? Yeah, it does, because they don't put up their hand, right? Okay, so automatically I'm starting to gauge who the audience is, right? The next area that I want to focus on is building rapport and then leading. Building rapport is really about connecting with them. So we do want to make sure that we connect with them. I want to make sure that I'm like you. So, there's ways to do that. There's called matching and mirroring. We want to mirror values. We want to do visual, auditory, kinesthetic, kind of advanced kind of topics. But we want to make sure that we match them. So, quite often I tell them about the fact that I was sitting in a workshop just like you're sitting there. I spent $4,000 to be in a 4-day training program. And at the end of the four days, I kind of wondered whether it worked or not. Does that match who they are and what they're about? It does. So I talk about the fact I have 3 kids. I talk about the fact I'm married. I've been married for 20 years. To build the rapport level with them. Once I have rapport with them, can I start to lead them a little bit? Yes, I can. In fact, I'm pretty directive about leading. Question for you. Why did I have you stand up right from the beginning? Actually, Bill did, but I would have done that anyway. Why would I get you stand up right from the beginning? To command. To say, you have to follow me as the leader in the presentation. Does that make sense? Okay, so you want to make sure that you're starting to build rapport. if you take a look at some things that I was doing in terms of building rapport, first of all, did I set the stage up to be the left brain and the right brain? Where's the left brain? It's a logic piece. Where is it?
On your right.
It's here. Where's the right brain? Here. Am I starting to separate the stage? Okay. Why did I do that joke? Is it because I wanted to have a laugh? No, it's purely to condition them to take my direction. Do this. I said, turn a page and draw a circle. Okay? Do I really need to do that? It's in the workbook. Do I need to do that? No, why am I doing that? I'm starting to lead you to follow my direction. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? You'll see some instructors that'll post their schedule up on a PowerPoint presentation. Right? You know, 9 to 5 we're going to cover this, 9 to 5 we're going to cover this, 9 to 5 we're going to cover this. I don't do that. What I do is let me just talk about the schedule, and I go over my overhead and say, okay, what I want you to do is just pull out a piece of paper there and grab your pen. Pull out a piece of paper there, grab a pen. Yeah, that's right. Okay, here's what the schedule is going to be like. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm directing them. Once I've built the rapport very quickly, I start to direct them. Right? Permission frame. I gave you the teach versus coach piece, you know, so you ask permission to be a little firm with them so you can move them on the right path. Right? So we want to make sure we're asking, if I can show you how to make $1 million, will you allow me to do this? It's kind of the language pattern I'm going to use, right? If you could get this, would you allow me to do that? Right? So we want to use this kind of language. We want agreement frames as we're doing a presentation. What they're called are tag questions. A great guy that does this is Tommy Hopkins. You know how many people have listened to Tommy? He's a pretty good guy, isn't he? Okay. Okay. How many people have listened to Tommy? He's a pretty good guy, isn't he? Bill's a really good guy, isn't he? What is that? I'm stealing his credibility, his anchor, his whatever. Can you do that? Sure you can, right? Tag questions. Tag questions basically mean when you're talking to people, you use questions to get them to say yes. Have I been using tag questions? Did that make sense to you? Are we on the right path? Okay, good, good. So you want to ask those times, are you with me? Am I going in the right direction? Okay. In fact, you know, just based on what I've talked about a little bit right now, some of you are going, man, that's a lot of stuff to put in a PowerPoint presentation. How many people, does that happen for anybody? Okay, so how do you do this? Well, for me, when I was thinking about tag questions, one of the simple ways for me to do is in the bottom right-hand corner of my PowerPoint presentation, I would have the tag question. What are, I'd say, sense, right direction, right? And I can tell you, after been doing this for almost 2 decades, no one has ever come to me and said, what's that word in the bottom right-hand section mean? They just don't ask, right? But it's a reminder for you to do what? Get agreement frames. In fact, one of the trainers out there in a $200 million seminar company, when they're teaching people about the 90-minute presentation, the 120-minute presentation, which in the business is called the sweep, right, or the preview, one of the trainers there mandates that a new instructor must get 100 agreement frames in 90 minutes. Is that like 1 a minute? It is. Now, when I say agreement frames, you know, does this make sense to me? Yes. You know, am I moving on the right path? How many people here would like to learn about this? When I get you to put your hand up, is that an agreement frame? Yes. It is. At the same time, am I conditioning you to say yes? I am. Isn't that the old insurance sale? Get them to say yes 100 times and then ask for the order, right? Is your name Jim Francis? Yes. Do you live at 14? Yes. Are you looking for insurance? Yes. You know, is it the $1 million policy or the $5 million policy? They'll why. How many people are interested in this? So we want to write these tag questions down. Yes, 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 yes. And then as we do that, we condition people to follow as opposed to not. So we want to make sure we're doing that. Right? You can do the right thing now. Right? Change beliefs. When people come into a workshop, whether it's a 2-hour workshop, 1-hour workshop, 3-hour workshop, do they have certain beliefs that you have to deal with? Okay. Are the people in that workshop that are afraid of spending money? Yeah, there are. So you need to deal with that someplace in your presentation. You do. Are there people there that are apathetic? Yes. Are there people there that have a security mechanism that says if I don't spend the money, if I don't buy something, that's safe? What do you think? Yeah, because in the past they bought something and what happened? They lost their money, right? So do we have to change those belief systems over time? What do you think? Yeah, we do. So someplace in your presentation, you have to write down what are the top 5, 6 belief systems that you have to deal with, and make sure that you deal with them in your presentation by changing their belief systems, by changing it. You'll have people in there that will say, I'm too old, right? You'll have people in there that will say that I'm too young. Is that a belief system that we've got to get them over? So if I know that, do I make sure that one of my testimonials of somebody who is 78 years old that made $100,000 and was buying real estate for the first time in the last 6 months? Do I have somebody from, literally from Denver here, you know, a young kid, 19 years old, that made a little more than $10,000 on his first deal with no money out of pocket? I do. Why do I do that? Because there's going to be that belief system about being too young, being too old, right? There's going to be that piece about being apathetic or whatever that might be. So we need to make sure we script our presentation to deal with those kinds of things. So if we're apathetic, we want to make sure that turns into action, right? If there's doubt, we want to make sure that it's firm. I doubt this works. I've got to demonstrate them through testimonials, through social proof that it does work. They're going to come in with their plan. What is their plan? Their plan is to work in a company for 40 years, take a 40% pay cut. Do we have to get them away from their plan and onto our plan? Yeah, we do. So we need to attack their plan on a regular basis. You need to attack retirement. You need to attack the job. You need to attack those pieces and say, hey, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Right? Isn't there a better plan out there? I mean, is the plan to be a JOB just over broke? Is that the plan? No, it's not. What's the plan? Maybe to be self-employed, maybe to own multiple real estate, be passive income. So I will want to attack their plan on a regular basis so they get your plan. Some of them will say that, geez, I really need to do that. Is need enough? No, in fact, we're going to need to use some language that's going to change that need to a must. You know, they must have that. They must need that. It's not the need, it's going to be a must. You're going to say that you're going to have one issue with a certain individual. And that certain individual, I'll call them a driver. Does everybody know what a driver is? I'll go over the 4 personality styles in a second. But a driver thinks he can do it himself. You know, the challenge with the driver is when they come to a workshop like this, they listen to what you have to say in their first 2 hours or their first day, and then what do they think they're going to do? They're going to take that information and go do it themselves, right? Okay, so you need to attack that driver in terms of how they're going to be successful or not. Because if you don't, by the way, who are most of the buyers?
The drivers.
Drivers tend to be buyers, don't they?
That's right.
Because they're type A personalities, aren't they?
That's me.
So if we don't leave, if we don't, yeah, and you're going, hey Jim, get to the bottom line, right? Right? So you got to understand people. So let me just give you a quick snapshot of understanding people. Basically, there's 4 types of people in the world. You know, the Chinese did this thousands and thousands of years ago. Dr. Merrill made this kind of famous. Larry Wilson actually took it into a book tape kind of thing, Wilson Learning Systems. But basically, there's 4 types of people. If you understand the 4 types of people, social styles, you can sell to them. How many people would like to learn this, by the way? How many people would like to have like a cassette that would refresh their memory on this, by the way? Great. Get the bonus. Absolutely. You should get the bonus. Right. Okay? Okay, so here are the 4 types of styles. Okay, did you see what I just did there? I flashed something. I flashed it for less than 5 seconds, and then what did I do? Okay, what does that create in individuals? Interest and curiosity. Okay? So show a slide and don't ever talk about it. Right? Internal. Basically what Merrill proved, but when you're thinking about individuals, there are 2 characteristics, and if you know these 2 characteristics, you know what style they are. If you know what style they are, you know what motivates them. If you know what motivates them, can you influence them? The answer to that is yes. So first of all, on the straight line, what you want to put at the top is internal. Internal. At the bottom, you want to put external. If it's internal, I want you to write these words. Okay? I want you to write these words. Besides internal, I want you to put controlled. Besides internal, put the word controlled. Beside external, what I want you to put is I want you to put the word emotional. Emotional. Right? On that cross line, horizontal cross line, on the left side, I want you to put the word slow. On the right side, I want you to put the word fast. Fast. Okay, besides slow, I want you to put methods, speed, language, all those kinds of things. Beside the right side on fast, I want you to put decision making, results orientation, those kinds of things. All right, so let's talk about this first quadrant up here in the top right-hand corner. This person is really what I call a driver, right? They're a driver. Now, a driver is very fast-paced, very quick to get to decision-making, and does not show a lot of emotion. What is it that really motivates a driver?
Results.
Results. Why results?
So want the answer now.
They want the answer now. Yeah, get to it. Yeah.
Because they're delegating the little stuff to everybody else, and they want the organization or whatever to go on and get results.
So a driver kind of thinks of life as what? A game, and what must they do?
Win.
When the number one thing for a driver is they must win in everything they do. So in negotiations, they must win. In them buying your product, they must win. And you have to show them how to win in the deal, right? There's two parts to winning. There's winning and losing. In fact, it's been said that 68% of the population is motivated negatively. They'll do much more not to lose something than they will to do something. You know, Myers-Briggs kind of proved that a little bit. So, winning and losing. So what that means is we have to point out what they're going to lose if they don't do this. Man, if you don't do... Where's my driver? Man, look at it. If you don't do Bill's program, there's going to be 12 people ahead of you. There's going to be 12 people doing much more than what you're doing right now. Now, as a driver, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I got to get back there.
I got to get back there because I don't want them to be ahead of me.
And
right?
I want them all to know me, and I want to be
and in fact, you know what? Of the 12, I want to be the top dog.
I'm top dog.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the driver, you got to point out what they're going to lose by not doing it. That makes sense to everybody. Okay, it makes sense to the drivers for sure. And the next individual is an analytical. An analytical is really slow-paced. They're very methodical. They're very systems-driven. Very systems-driven. Their number one value in life is to be what? Right. They must be right, and they can't be wrong. Okay, so if you're negotiating with them, this is one of my favorite techniques when it comes to real estate investing. You know, I do a 17-page inspection report off a software program I have, and it points out all the problems with your house. And if I know they're an analytical, and I'm saying, hey, listen, you're asking $110 for the house, this report clearly shows that there's at least $10,000 worth of repairs and things like that. And what does the driver do? They don't question whether it's $10,000. What are they doing? They're looking at the report going, well, that number's not really right. It should be 99. Okay, so I take off the 99, and then I move to the next one. See, the driver's about the system, about the numbers. They have to be right. So you've got to show them how to be right in the deal or how to be right in the process. And if you're trying to negotiate with them, you show them what they're doing wrong in terms of the negotiation strategy. Does that make sense? Yeah? The next individual is an amiable. An amiable is very slow-paced. They show a lot of emotion. They're very concerned about the relationship, the team, those kinds of things. What is it for the amiable? What are they really looking out of the deal, looking out of the product, or those kinds of things? The relationship, to feel good, right? So with the amiable, do you want to talk about all the benefits of your product? No, what you want to talk about is being part of the team, part of the group. We together will accomplish this. If I'm trying to sell mentorship, what am I talking about? This individual is going to take you by the hand and walk you down the path to success. In fact, you know, with most of our mentors and our mentorees, they become lifelong friends. If somebody's an amiable, is that something that's appealing to them? Right? Absolutely. What about an expressive? The next individual is an expressive. Very fast-paced, very fast-paced. They want to get to the emotion very quickly. You know, what is it for them in terms of what they want to get out of the deal? Their number one value. I have a bonus for somebody who figures it out.
Socializing.
You got to figure it out. I need the answer.
To be liked.
No, that's more the amiable. Expressive, fast-paced,
To be the star.
high energy. They want what life has got to be what? There you go. Very good. Now you're going to sell those, right? He's good too. They're the same. So fun. They don't like apathy. Okay, so they want to have fun in the process. You know, years ago I worked with the Charles Gibbons organization, and I actually kind of helped them bring their Taxmaster Tax Defense program to fruition, which was 50-plus tax professionals in Atlanta who were ex-IRS agents. Does that sound like kind of a dry product?
Yes.
It is. So if you're talking to an expressive and you're trying to say to them, well, what we can do is save you $1,000 to $5,000 on your taxes, make sure that they're safe, secure, and you're not getting ripped off in terms of the IRS, that's a little difficult sale to somebody who's expressive, is it? What do you think?
Yes.
But can I take my tax product and make it so it's fun?
Yes.
Yeah, so what do you do with that kind of individual? Say, hey, listen, you can save $1,000 to $5,000 in the next 30 days. Can you imagine having $1,000 or $2,000 extra? What would you do with that $1,000 or $2,000? Might you take that special, significant loved one to a beach, like maybe Hawaii? And as you're sitting on that black beach in Hawaii and the sunset's going down and you're sipping a glass of champagne, do you know what's going to happen? Is that different than my tax product as my tax product? It is. So do we need to change our style in terms of who they are? There is. Do audiences have certain styles? Yeah, they do, depending on their business to business or business to consumer. Generally speaking, the quadrants are 25, 25, 25, and 25. Now here's a problem for most presenters. What style do they use to communicate it? Their own. If they only communicated their own style, who are they missing out on? 75%, right? So you've got to be good at changing your style to meet the needs of those other individuals. Now what happens if you don't know?
Hit them all.
Hit them all. So you do the shotgun approach. Say the reason you want to do this is because I know that you want to win, because you don't want to be behind somebody else. And literally you want to do this deal, it's going to be the right deal for you, not the wrong deal. And I know that you want to be with us for a long time, we'll be friends, family, and we'll love each other forever, right? Because you don't want to be there by yourself. And listen, what are you going to do with the money? You're going to go to that special place on the beach, spend it, and have fun. Does that make sense to you? Okay? So literally you need to think about that. Now, here's one of the things I do. One of the things I do in terms of my presentation, my PowerPoint presentation, is that I actually put little notes to myself on certain sections. If I'm doing a numbers section, is that the best time to talk to an analytical person?
Yes.
It is. So while I'm talking to that analytical person, I'm going to have a message for the analytical person. So I'm going to communicate to them about our products and services and how that when we do our products and services, we make sure that you don't make mistakes. Man, with our software program, there's no way you're going to make a mistake. In fact, it just pops up the window, it has all the little detail, and when you do that, it gives you all the right numbers. You'll figure out what the ROI is. You'll figure out what the cap rate is, because you don't want to make a mistake on that. And am I talking to the analytical person? Okay. One caution with respect to seminars. When you're doing seminars, whether it's 1 day, 2 day, or 20 or 120 minutes, there is one individual who's a bit of a challenge. And who do you think that person is?
Driver.
The driver. Why is the driver a bit of a challenge?
It's a stinking long time.
Taking a long time to get to that point, right? And if you're an amiable, you want that to happen. You want it to be, a relationship, that find out who you are, and all that kind of stuff. So you got to deal with the drivers pretty fast. Right? So normally in a workshop or something like, hey, listen, I know there's really 4 types of people in here. There's the people that that like things to go very slowly, and then there's people that want to go really fast, right? They want to get to the bottom line. Now, for you people that are going really fast when you get to the result right away, we're going to get there. But you need to give me some breathing room. You need to just back off for a minute, because I'm going to show you a technique in a few minutes that'll make you $50,000. And if you kind of blow me off, you're going to miss out on that technique. Okay? So what did I just tell the driver? But I also gave him what he wanted, didn't I? Which is what? If you stay with me, you're going to win. Okay, so you got to do that. You realize your drivers are going to be a bit of a challenge in terms of that. How many people would like to have some scripts and language to talk to drivers, to talk to expressives, to sell you? How many people would like to have that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No, seriously, how many people would like to have that? Okay. If you go to the back right now, you can pick it up. All right? Okay, stop. It's in your book. It's in your book. Just wanted to see if I could do it. Now, handouts. Normally, I do not give a workbook with everything in the book. I have handouts at the back. Why do I want to have handouts at the back?
Get them going.
To get them used to doing what? See, here's a traditional problem with the sales process. What happens is the speaker does his presentation, and then he gets into sales mode. And then he says, and you need to go to the back. Well, if they haven't been going to the back regularly, does it become a barrier there? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So you want to get them conditioned to going to the back on a regular basis. That makes sense to you? So it's normal. And in fact, quite often I'll have my salespeople hand out the pieces and talk to them. Not just sitting on the table, but handing out so they talk to them, they interact with them, they build rapport with the sales and the coordinators at the back, right? So we do want to change that. Changing beliefs, we kind of talked about that. We've got to change those belief systems, you know, what they are, whether it's I'm too young, I'm too smart, you know, the driver's going to think he's too smart, he doesn't need to listen to you, he doesn't need a coach, he can do it himself. So you want to make sure you're working on these kind of areas. These are the top 5 you want to attack. Top 5 you want to attack. Apathy, no action. You must have a piece in your presentation to get them to take action. To realize that sitting there doing nothing is costing them millions and millions and millions of dollars. So there must be a piece in your presentation. You have to attack their current plan to success. Because they're happy with their current plan. So you've got to make sure that you show them a way that that plan is costing them money. That might be the 40-40 plan or the job piece. Most, I would say most, but I'd say a good half of your audience thinks they can do it themselves. You know, you give them some strategies, some techniques, you know, and they'll go out there and do it themselves. So you want to do that. You do want to give them value. You do want to give them strategies, but you also want to give them a caution. And the caution is, I've had some people who have really lost their shirt because they didn't do asset protection first. Okay? You've got to do asset protection first before you go buy that first property. You know, because it could cost you $50,000 or $100,000. Okay? So you want to attack their plan. You want to attack their network. Their network is going to support them or not. If they go home on a Saturday night, or if they're at a 20-minute or a 120-minute presentation, and they go home to talk to their wife, significant other, or friend, and they say, "Listen, I just spent $10,000 on a 2-day workshop," what do you think that friend might say? Are you nuts? Right? Can that friend talk them out of that buying decision? You get buyer's remorse. So don't we want to talk about who their friends are, who that significant other is? Man, if that person's never made $1 million, should you be listening to them? What do you think? My dad is a PhD, you know, a very smart, intelligent guy, right? Bought his home, retired, all those kinds of things, but he's never been at millionaire status. Should I listen to him about financial advice? He's done okay, but if I'm trying to get to that level, should I be listening to him? No. So does that discount his voice tonight when I go home to talk to my dad? It does quite a bit, right? So we want to make sure that we're attacking who that other supporting network is. Does that make sense to you? I'll even take that a step further. We want to make sure that we're putting words in their mind about what should happen that night, right? Do we want to attack negative attitudes? Yeah, we do. So we want to make sure we're positive. So we quite often have the red light and the green light. We have the bad apple, the good apple. We make those analogies and want to make sure people are on the path in terms of good attitude. Condition and response. There are things you can say to individuals as you're doing your presentation that condition them. So you might do things like, if you can't, you must. Anybody go Tony Robbins, one of his favorite sayings? If you can't do something, you must. Right? So I talk about a situation where I was going along Fort Lauderdale. I was in Fort Lauderdale, and I've been doing residential properties, houses, those kinds of things, condos, and I walked by a 38-unit hotel complex. Now, I'm a seasoned professional investor, and even when I saw that 38-unit hotel, what thing fired off in my head? I can't do that. But I have a philosophy that says if I can't, what? I must go do it. Does that change your whole life? It does. And I actually cut that deal and then assigned it to somebody else. But the point I'm trying to make is if you do that, I can't, I must, I can't, I must, when Saturday night comes around and they're thinking about, I can't afford this, what do they have to think of? I must. So repetitive language can influence people over time, right? If you have fear, one of my major messages over and over and over is, when you have fear, you have to take a step. If you're afraid, you have to take a step. Okay, I demonstrate that with the Tony Robbins Firewalk story, but I reinforce that regularly in my presentation. So what's going to happen to them on Saturday night when they're thinking about buying? Is fear going to pop up? And what do I want them to associate when they hear that fear? What do I want them to associate to think? I got to take a step, right? That's the way people get successful. So you want to create these kinds of themes, repetitive languages, to influence people. Directives, tell them what to do. Directives means from the beginning, tell them to stand up. Directives mean, hey, grab your piece of paper and do this. You want to be directive and you want to have the authority and be in control. You also want to tell them how to respond. Hey, listen, when you go home tonight and you're thinking about buying this product or service, there's going to be two ways you can think about it. Here's the first way. Here's the second way. Now, the first way, you're going to go back to your normal life, and you're going to be your normal individual, go back to your job, and you'll never be successful. Because people come to these programs all the time. However, if you choose the other thought process, this is what happens. They start going on the path of success. They buy the first property, the second property, and they're successful. Have I mimicked what their thought process is?
Yes.
And I'm directing them as to what their thought process should be tonight, today. Can I do that in a 90-minute presentation?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got lots of friends who'll say something like, hey, listen, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to spend 90 minutes together. At the end of 90 minutes, a certain portion of you are just going to walk out. Now, if you do that, you're going to lose out on da-da-da-da-da. However, the people who said, come on with us, you're going to earn da-da-da-da-da. Am I conditioning them to think the way I want them to think? Because really, there are lots of other things they could do. They might have objections. They might have whatever it might be. Repetitive language does work, so you want to use some repetitive language. I gave you some repetitive language in the book, but I'll give you a few more. Education is expensive, but ignorance is even more expensive. Action gets you a bonus. Everything I do, action gets you a bonus. Why am I going to do that? Do you think there's going to be a bonus with my product? Do I want them to get the bonus? I do. Right? Scarcity. There's only a few of these. There's only a few spots left. There's only 12 of these. Right? So you want to use scarcity. Millionaires do this. People who are successful, this is what they do. Right? And if you're not doing it, then you're not going to get there, so you've got to do it. A simple technique would be say, hey, listen, how many people here are real estate investors? Okay, great. If you're a real estate investor, do you know the power of education? Yeah, because it's the education that got you to where you're at, isn't it? Okay? That next level of revenue, of whatever it is, isn't that going to take more education? Okay? So I'm saying that education is very powerful. When you learn, you earn. When you learn more, you earn more. So I want to use those kind. I wonder if you can. Some embedded language. You want to say some language, and I've used it a few times already, by the end of this session. Did anyone hear me say that? Is that an indirect command to buy? It is. Buy now. You're probably imagining. Is that an indirect command to buy? Okay? At a subconscious level, we recognize that word buy. Right? The way to success is very clear. By the way, okay, very indirect command that you should be buying. So you want to use some language. And I don't know what you believe about hypnosis and those kinds of things. I think, Donald, you mentioned that, didn't you? Right? Does it have an influence on people? Absolutely. It absolutely does, right? So you want to start to master some of that. One of the ones I use regularly is, hey guys, in the real estate game, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell. Has anybody seen the gestures I've been doing as I say that? Every time I said buy now, by the way, what am I doing? Buy now, by the way, take action. I'm pointing at the back, right? You'll get it at a very subconscious level, no question. Buy now. There's some great stock guys out there that I had the privilege of working with, and some of those guys really have taken this to another level. And what they'll do is on their presentations, they'll say, there's an entry point. How do people do the stock market? So you got entry points and exit points, right? So when you do an entry point, this is where you buy, isn't it? Isn't this really where you buy? It is, isn't it? Okay, and when you buy, what happens?
What's up?
Then when you buy, you profit. How many people would like to buy and profit? How many people here would like to buy and profit? Some of you are getting it. Some of you are going, oh, I don't know about you, Jim. So they're saying that every chart, they say, you buy and you profit. Buy, profit, buy, profit. If you hear buy, profit for 120 minutes, do you think you associate buying with profit? What do you think? How many people are seeing how this might influence people? How many people are sitting there going, oh my God, I was a victim of those guys. And I'd probably trade them. Right? So we want to use repetitive language. Good. Hey, is this really good stuff? How many people are getting some value out of the last 60 minutes? Is this good stuff?
Great stuff.
It's great stuff, man. Isn't that great stuff? Right? It's good stuff or great stuff? It's good. It's great stuff, right? So you want to take the good to great. And so I want to use those kinds of language patterns. If I can, I must. Right? Fear equals action. When I'm afraid, I take a step. Right? So you want to use these repetitive pieces. Does body language influence people? Sure. So there's a couple of things I use from stage that have an impact with people. So first of all, you want to become pretty good at body language. There's a great book out there called Subtext by Julian Fast. Right? So you want to pick that up. But there are things you can do in terms of body language to control an audience, a group. So for example, if I want questions, what do I do? Anybody have any questions? Am I telling you it's okay? I want questions. Hey, are there any questions? What did I tell you? There's no questions. Somebody's doing behavior I don't like, right? And I see it in the audience. What did I just tell them?
Bad boy.
Right? There's a point that I disagree with the individual. Did I tell them anything?
Yep.
So can body language have an influence? What do you think?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to be pretty good at body. And when you're trying to deliver something very direct, do you want powerful body language? Right? Everybody's attracted to Tony Robbins kind of gestures, right? So you want to start to learn some of those things. So that book is a very good book to kind of learn some of those things. Mind reading. Very good skill. It's an excellent skill. It is really putting yourself into the position of that individual and then thinking through what they're thinking.